What is up, Raphalitos? Welcome back to my channel. I'm in the botanical gardens. It's a long time since I did a live, so I thought this morning I'd just give you guys a live session instead of bringing you some updates on developments in Guyana. Normally when I do this, I'm out at the seawall, by Kingston seawall, but today I decided to stay in the botanical gardens just because I think it's probably just as appropriate an environment. But of course, you have to contend with the weed whackers and the people coming out to um, to work in the gardens in the morning. So don't have a lot of time. So it's Emancipation Day in Guyana. Today is August 1st, 2025. It's Emancipation Day, and there are a couple of issues that I wanted to talk about on this live that I don't get a chance to talk about when I'm making videos. Because I have a time limit on how long I can make the videos, and although the videos are unscripted, I have a fairly narrow goal when I make videos, each video. So what I'm going to do in this live is to be much more mm, wide ranging in my expression in the topics I cover. So the first thing is, this is season, what is it, season 18? Yeah, this is season 18 of Raphael Nation. Started out as Raphael Nation Vlogs in 2017, and every 6 months is a new season. So I decided to make the season 6 months because it gives me a chance to reassess, what's happening on the channel every 6 months. And so last 6 months I had set some goals. Season 17, I didn't get to achieve some of them. Most of them had to do with uh, adopting a documentary format. In other words, doing some reviews on some topical issues like the impact of billionaires on development and growth in Guyana. I haven't gotten around to doing that, so I'm probably going to do those scripted videos later on in this season, season 16. So that's going to be kept. But season 18, season 18, I think I'm going to pivot more towards business. So I've spent the last um, 7 years, 8 years building several companies in stealth. So there's a big debate now about whether you should build in public or whether you should build in stealth. Building in stealth means that you don't really announce what you're doing. You simply putting the pieces together of your company, of your business, and when you're finished, when you're ready to launch, that's when you make the big reveal. Building in public means that every step of the way you're vlogging, you're basically telling people what stage of the business you're working on, and how things are going. I have preferred to build in stealth because building a business is messy, right? And things don't always go the way you want them to go. So um, you sometimes you have to pivot. Sometimes you find you're backing up the wrong tree, you reach a dead end, and so on. So it is quite messy. So I prefer to build in stealth. However, I'm at the stage now where a lot of the businesses are mature, and a lot has changed. Things like AI, artificial intelligence, is accelerating the process, making it a lot more rapid. And so you can build a business in about 10% of the time that it would take. For example, I actually started working on my businesses in 2020 by building websites. So what I had to do is um, I had to learn to code in about 5 programming languages just to build the websites. And so I started out just building out websites. And it took me 2 years to actually code all the websites. But now with AI, you can build a website in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, right? So that makes things a lot more rapid, and it opens the possibility to do a lot more things than you could have done um, if you're just writing the code yourself. Like you could build out an app, you can build several apps, you can build out the back end of your um, payment processing, which is what I spent like a year trying to figure out to work on. So because I didn't want to use Stripe or any one of these payment processing services. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in this season, building my businesses in public and how far I've gotten. So far, what I've built is worth about $100 million. So I've built the foundation of a business that is now worth about 100 million US dollars, and that is according to AI. So basically, you can put the pieces together and then ask ChatGPT to assess the value of your business, and based on depending on when you ask ChatGPT, you get a different answer. So the first time I asked ChatGPT, they said it's worth about $90 million, a little over $90 million, and then second time I threw the parts together and said, now what do you think? ChatGPT says it's worth between 44 and 70 million. So it's kind of, and that's with only 25% of the businesses that I've built so far that I've asked ChatGPT to assess. So I'm pretty sure it's about 100 million. But the point is that with all these tools now, things like ChatGPT and Lovable and Copilot and so on, all these AI tools, it's possible to um, build a business in a fraction of the time. And so I'm actually more confident that I could build out these companies in public rather than working um, in stealth mode. So that's going to be part of what's happening in uh, this season 18. The other reason why I'm going live this morning is because I wanted to um, show some people, or at least remind some people of what is happening on this channel. I keep repeating from time to time, this is a channel for intelligent people. And what I really mean by that is that there is a small segment of the population that I'm catering for. And that means people who can understand the logic of what I'm covering and why I'm covering it. However, as time goes by, the YouTube algorithm is showing this channel to more and more people who don't really understand what the channel is about. And more of those people are Guyanese. So when this channel first, when I started making videos on YouTube, about 75% of my audience was from the US, in places like New York and Atlanta and California. And about 25% was from places like Canada and the UK. Only 1 or 2% of the viewers were from the Caribbean and Guyana. Less than 5% was from combined was from Caribbean and Guyana. As time has gone by, though, things have changed, and now I think about 30%, 32% of the viewers are in Guyana, from are Guyanese living in Guyana, and about 40% of the viewers are in the US, and I think it's about 12% now in Canada. And what that means is that two things it means. It means two things. One is that the way the um, algorithm pays me for views has changed, because the way YouTube works is that it allows you to display advertisements in the location where the viewer is watching the video. And typically, viewers in places like Europe and North America uh, are valued more by the algorithm than viewers in places like Africa and South America. So as the demographic who watch this channel has changed, the amount of money YouTube is paying me for the videos is decreasing because more and more of those viewers are watching from Guyana. And I think the rate for viewers for videos viewed from Guyana is like $1 per thousand views, or maybe less than $1 per thousand views. Whereas what I've been getting for viewers watching in North America and Europe is over $4 per thousand views. So as more and more Guyanese have found this channel, the the value of the channel has decreased to YouTube. But that's important because what it means is that although I welcome new Guyanese viewers, I am not going to be patient with Guyanese viewers disrupting the channel, which means the second point. Because it's election season and because Guyanese viewers are trapped in this fishbowl of the election cycle, everything you say has some kind of political interpretation. I mean, even if you just say you're sitting in the botanical gardens, somebody's gonna say, you know, the PVP this or the PNC that or APNU this, and you're just sitting in the botanical gardens. So everything becomes political, everything becomes a stupid argument, and that's really annoying, especially from people who don't bring me very much money in the channel. These people who are making everything political don't um, don't bring much monetary value to the channel, and therefore I'm less patient with this kind of disruption, and so I've taken to blocking people now. I'm actually going to block people who disrupt the channel. If you don't understand that this is a channel for intelligent people and that I'm not actually targeting a demographic of people who understand what I'm saying and not the people who want to use the channel as a platform for their narrow-minded political views, those people are going to get blocked. Right? So for two reasons. One is because they're disrupting the channel experience for other viewers, and because they're not really bringing value. They're not really increasing the amount of money this channel makes. Right? So those are two of the issues that I need to address in this live that I don't get to address when I make videos. So I really don't need to argue with people. I could simply um, close the comment section, make the videos, you know, turn off comments so that if you watch the videos, you can't make comments. But that's not really in the spirit of, you know, the things that I want to create. I want to allow people to have open and free discussion about the issues that I'm raising on in the videos. But at the same time, I can't really have people disrupt the channel, you know, make it unpleasant for other viewers and annoy me, and at the same time not bringing much monetary value to the channel. So that is how I'm dealing with the issue of the politics. I'm taking the month of August off. Basically, I'm taking off because I want to focus on some other things during this political season. I mean, anything you post during this silly season election cycle gets distorted and turns into an argument, and it's just annoying. So I'm going to stop making these videos regularly until the election is over, and then we can get back to filming normally. But it also gives me a chance to just focus on building these businesses, which is what I've been doing in the last um, 6 months, focusedly, and which I've been doing in the background in stealth in the last 6, 7 years, right? Certainly 5 years since 2020 when I started coding all these websites. So that's what's coming in for the rest of the month of August. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of um, vlogging simply because I want to focus on building these businesses. So where are we? Like I said, where are we in terms of these businesses? Right now, the companies are worth about 100 million US dollars, and that is by the assessment um, of Chat GPT, right? So AI assessment. Basically, what you do is you give AI all the parameters of your business, and it's actually very difficult to get an accurate valuation on your company, um, because there's so many intangibles, and what you how you value um, a business. A lot of it is still quite subjective. So I actually do take um, chat gpt's or ai's valuation with a grain of salt, because they might be using some hidden parameters to measure business that I don't see. However, I do believe that the business is worth about 100 million US dollars. So what am I talking about? This business that is worth about 100 million US dollars. Remember, I started talking about building billion-dollar companies in Guyana, and a lot of people thought I was joking. A lot of people thought that Guyana is a joke. But one of the reasons why I left North America, one of the reasons why I left the US, is so that I could have free time to think. You don't have this pressure to pay bills and meet deadlines and so on at work. If you come to Guyana, then, like I said, overhead is zero, and you have time to simply assess the landscape and decide what is the best path forward. So I've actually been able to do that in the last 10 years since I left New York. I left in 2011. I went to Singapore, went to Canada. You know the story. But what has happened is that it's allowed me um, to think about what I want to do with business. And what I found is that when you have the freedom to simply let your imagination roam, you come up with uh, some insights that you wouldn't get if you're working on the pressure. And so one of the insights that I came up with is that you needed to build a group of companies or conglomerate. Whereas the US, it's the model is you try to build a product and capture the market before anyone else gets there. The motto is get big fast, or what is it? Move fast and break things. If you do it that way, then you're basically taking a moonshot every time, and if your company fails, you start over, and you basically raise capital, you raise millions and millions of dollars, and your company fails, and then as far as the investors are concerned, well, they're catering for that. They're basically saying, look, 1 in 100 of these businesses will succeed, and we're just going to throw money at a lot of businesses and hope that 1 out of every 100 becomes a billion-dollar company, becomes a unicorn. Whereas if you are the builder of the business, you are at the receiving end. Your business just failed, and now you're out 4 or 5 years of your life, and you owe your investors several million dollars that you took as an investment you couldn't pay back. And that is not a good position to be in. I don't know how people handle it, but I decided I didn't want that to be my way of building businesses. So what building a conglomerate or building a group of companies allows me to do is to simply map out a area of um, operation, of coverage. You can build an ecosystem, right? So let's take, for example, in the medical field. So I'm building a group of businesses in the medical domain, right? The biotech businesses. And so over the years, what I've done is I've put together a group of companies that each feed the other. It's an ecosystem. Each company is dependent on the other. Now, while it takes longer to do that, this is not this is not move fast and break things. This is not get big quick. The model here is, um, let's put these pieces together like a jigsaw puzzle and figure out how these businesses can support each other. It might take longer to get there, but it's more likely to succeed because you're building in some fail safe. You're building in some contingencies. So what am I talking about? So I decided to build in my area of expertise. First of all, my area of expertise is medical imaging. I did a PhD in biophysics, did postdoc in neurosurgery, postdoc in cardiovascular MRI, and cancer MRI, and so on. So my area of expertise is MRI, imaging, diagnostic imaging. And what has happened in recent times, in the last, I would say, 6 months or so, is that a lot of um, AI companies have been working um, on AI models that process medical information, whether it be diagnostic um, diagnosis from patient information, or putting together several bits of information. You have AI systems that can draw information from patient histories, from lab tests, from imaging scans, and so on, and make the process of diagnosing quicker, smoother, and more accurate. So there, I think, several companies and research groups are working on that kind of AI model. I think Google's Gemini is one example of an AI model that they have developed for medicine, and there are a number of others. What I have decided to do is to use my knowledge of medical imaging to build several companies that are leveraging my knowledge, leveraging now AI, which is why I'm going public with it, why I'm building in public now, because I was building in stealth all along, but I'm going to be building in public for the next foreseeable future, because I think it's now very clear what the path is, and I'm pretty sure that it's a successful um, path. So I've built 4 or 5 companies in this medical space, in this group. The first company is a university. Basically, it's a medical school. And the reason I explained for that, if you follow me on LinkedIn and Facebook, you know. So the story is that I actually started teaching at the University of Guyana when I was 21 years old. I was recruited to the Faculty of Physics, to the Faculty of Natural Sciences, and taught physics when I was in 1991 when I was 21 years old. And at that time, the head of the university, the vice chancellor, was Dr. Walcott, George Walcott. I think he was vice chancellor while I was a student there, and retired shortly after I joined the faculty, or somewhere around that time. But he was a professor of chemistry. And since 1991, the University of Guyana has not had a vice chancellor who is a expert in the sciences, in STEM fields, right? In medicine, or any of the sciences. And that actually became a problem, because when I returned to the university, I returned to the faculty in 2014 to teach in healthcare, in the health science faculty, medical imaging. And I found it extremely difficult to communicate the needs of medical education in Guyana. You need, for example, you need medical equipment, you need laboratory equipment to teach students medical imaging. You can't put students in hospitals. Um, you can't put students in hospitals who have not had the proper exposure and learned how to use the diagnostic equipment, whether it be CT or MRI or ultrasound, or digital X-rays, mammography, whatever. These are the modalities that we were teaching, and the university refused to buy any of the equipment that I needed, relying on an old method that basically says in the summer students are going to do some rotation and go to the hospital and observe for 2 weeks how these equipment are being used, and that is not a model that you want to use for teaching um, healthcare professionals. So for a number of 4 years, basically, I fought with the administration over their lack of providing the equipment to teach these courses. But they were collecting money from students. They were collecting, students were paying a laboratory fee every semester, and the university was not spending the money on laboratory equipment for these students. I consider that to be fraud, so I basically left. I quit the university in 2017 because I consider that to be a form of um, mismanagement and fraud, basically. But I did that because I think there's a better way to do it. So I decided to build another university that focuses on providing the equipment for the students from day one. So if you come to the university, my university that is, to become an MRI physicist or an MRI technologist or an ultrasound technologist or CT um, technologist, these are all licensed fields, right? You have to get a license to be a technologist in the US and Canada and in the UK. From day one, you should have access to the equipment and you should learn how to use it. So based on that principle, I started the new university. Right now, I'm arguing about with the city of Georgetown about the name Georgetown Biomedical University. They want me to get permission from the mayor to call the university Georgetown Biomedical University. I want to avoid politics, so I'm considering just changing the name to something that does not require the involvement of politicians. But yeah, that's how the Georgetown Biomedical University, or the university that I'm working on, is formed. I think I'm going to call it. Right now, I'm working on a name, Biomedica, Biomedica University. So anyway, the idea is you want to build a group of companies that form an ecosystem. So you have the Biomedical University that I'm building, that is going to train students using hands-on methods, using equipment, MRI facilities, and ultrasound, X-rays, CT, and so on, and will provide jobs for those students when they leave. So how do you do that? Then you build another company that does that, that provides jobs. So then that gave rise to a company that I'm calling the LBS Imaging Services. LBS Imaging Services basically says, let us provide all the imaging services that the hospitals need. You need trained technologists, then we will supply you with them. We will train your staff at any hospital anywhere in the world, particularly in Guyana and the Caribbean, starting in Guyana and the Caribbean. We'll train your technologists to use MRI, we'll train your radiologists, we'll give them continuing medical education and so on. But we will use some of our own trained, that is graduates from our programs, will be able to find jobs in our LBS imaging services. So basically you have two companies now. You have LBS Imaging Services and you have the medical university. They are now working in synergy. Then you can add a third company, the LBS Imaging Center, where you simply stack a building with all of the medical equipment that you need. So you need MRI, we've got 6 MRI machines. You need CT, we got like 6 or 7 CT machines. You need ultrasound, we have a room full of 20 or 30 ultrasound machines, and so on. So we have those facilities, so we use them for training, but we also rent them out to the hospitals. So the hospitals, whether they be local or for patients flying in, this is medical tourism, they have access to a suite of all of the diagnostic equipment. So that's a third arm of the company. Then there's a fourth arm of the company that says, look, you need more than just um, imaging information. You need uh, other laboratory tests that can help to diagnose an illness. So you need DNA testing, for example, and you need bioinformatics services. Basically, if you have your DNA results, you need to be able to figure out what it means, what these genes mean, what is wrong with your genetic information, and what kinds of illnesses are associated with, you know, abnormal genes in a particular person. So there's another company, right? This is called now Lisa Biosciences, another company that does that. So what I'm putting together, what I'm showing you is that you can build a company that is an ecosystem of several companies, starting with a university, an imaging center, imaging services, bioinformatics services, that is DNA testing and all that stuff. And when you put all of that together, you get a group of companies. Now, I've been in talks, I'm now talking with the government of Guyana. They've built several new hospitals. They've built 6 new hospitals, and they're upgrading the facilities, the medical imaging facilities at all the other hospitals in Guyana. And there is now a high demand for trained medical professionals. And guess what? Now I have a set of companies that can solve these problems. That is, we can train the technologists that you need in each of these new hospitals to operate the machines. We can either help you do the image interpretation, diagnostic image interpretation, where we have now contracted or working on contracting radiologists from all over the world to provide those services, to help you with quick and accurate assessment of images, MRI, CT, ultrasound, and so on, and help you with reporting, radiology reports and so on. So it is coming, we're at a time in Guyana's development when what I am building is right in line with the direction that the country is moving. And the opportunity to provide these services is coming at a time when the demand for these services has gone up, right? So this is what I'm working on behind all these videos that I'm making. When I show you videos of the roads in Guyana, and I tell you I don't drive in Guyana, and I show you videos of the bridge, and I point out to you some of the things that I'm concerned about, or I show you construction of sidewalks and roads, and tell you what the flaws are. I'm doing that in the context of building a billion-dollar company that is going to demand or require high quality, high level infrastructure, right? But of course, the people who are responding to some of these videos in the comments below um, are so simple-minded that they think this is about their political party. You're criticizing the PPP, or you're criticizing whoever they support, and it's just ridiculous. So instead of me engaging each one of these people, I simply say, look, this is a channel for intelligent people, right? I'm making videos for people who are intelligent, people who can see this, who can understand what I'm doing. I'm not going to take time out to argue over silly, short-sighted nonsense. We have a problem with corruption in the society. We have a problem with incompetence in the society, and I'm pointing those things out. But that's not the goal. The goal is to say whatever it is you are seeing, or the superficially, there are foundational issues that are not being addressed, and I'm not going to be silent on them, right? And so that's what's behind the comments, or my narration when I'm actually talking about infrastructure. I'm thinking at the same time about businesses that I'm building, and that they need to operate in a world-class environment. I'm actually building businesses that are going to be relevant not just in Guyana and for Guyana, but for the Caribbean and for the rest of the world, for Africa, for Asia. You're building stuff that has um, international relevance and international quality, right? So at the same time, I'm expecting the quality of the infrastructure we build to meet international standards. And if you can't understand that, I'm not going to get into an argument with you. I'm just going to say, look, this is a channel for intelligent people. And if you don't understand what that means, then I think you're in the wrong place. But yeah, guys, that's what's happening from my end. I'm just taking the morning, that is Friday morning. It's a holiday in Guyana. It's the um, first of the first day of August. It's Emancipation Day in Guyana, and I'm just taking this first day in August to do what I should have done in a few videos back. That is explain what's happening in season 18. This is season 18 of Raphael Nation vlogs, and or Raphael Nation main. This is the main channel, and the direction which we're going to go. I'm going to start building in public, because that is building these companies that I'm working on in public, because I think we've reached a point where we can start revealing, what we're working on in Guyana. And this is a great time. I mean, this is the best time, I think, to be in Guyana and to be witnessing the transformation, the changes in the world. AI is changing the world, and so that is what I'm preparing for and doing on this channel, and in Guyana in general. So this is, did I show you what's happening around here? This is the I'm sitting at one of the picnic tables here in the botanical gardens, sitting at one of the picnic tables. And what they did recently is they built out some of the picnic areas and made some improvements. What's happening here? That's the garbage pickup. I think they do this every morning. They built this garbage area. So that's garbage pickup here. And what I'm facing, I'm looking away. When I'm looking at the camera, I'm looking at this part of the gardens, right? The traffic circle. But this is where I am. This is what is happening. Now, if you have some questions, I'm gonna take them now. Let me see if I can move out of the sun a little bit, shade, so I can read some of these questions. So if you have some questions, you can ask them now. So see if I can read some of what is. Yeah, there's somebody saying they don't care if corruption kills people. Yeah, the problem with Guyana and the context of the development that's happening right now is that corruption is a huge part of the political culture here. But the problem is that the people who support the PPP don't really care about corruption as long as their party is in charge, as long as they are winning. The problem with that, of course, is that the rest of society is suffering, where only a small segment is benefiting from the corruption. Think about all of these road contracts, right? There's all these contracts have been given mainly to PPP supporters, people like Guyanese critic, who is massively incompetent and basically an idiot. But think about the development of the country being put in the hands of idiots like critic, and the people who are actually qualified to do the job are left on the sidelines without work, without being able to contribute. So they're just leaving, right? And so you're getting a society that's being built with lots of noise, lots of smoke and mirrors. But when you look closely at what is being built, infrastructure is being built, it's crap, right? It's crap. And so when you point out the flaws in the infrastructure, the political, um, the political supporters of the ruling party want to drown out what you're saying, because they don't care really that what is being built is crap. They basically are comfortable with the fact that their race is in charge, the party that supports them and their community is in charge, and they feel safe. But that's not a recipe for progress and success. It's just a recipe for waste. And I try not to take on the political culture head on, but part of the problem with the two parties now um, that are gaining the spotlight, the what is it, the Win Party with Azzuddin Mohammed and the big fight with the PPP, is that Mohammed was a member of the PPP. So when they say this guy is corrupt and this guy has been caught in money laundering, he was a member of the PPP when he was involved in all of these things. When he was sanctioned, he was a member of the PPP. So it's kind of annoying to see, people just um, ignoring these facts and pretending as if um, the corruption is invisible and it has no impact on the society. It has a major impact. Has impact on the safety of people on the roads. If you build, for example, Heroes Highway, I keep pointing out that Heroes Highway was built without any turning lanes. So most of the intersections on Heroes Highway have no turning lanes. So that is a recipe for disaster because, and you can see it on mornings when I'm out there and I show you when there's a traffic, congestion and all the lanes of the highway are filled. If you want to turn, then you have to come to a stop in the fast lane. There's no way for you to move out of the way so you can wait for traffic to ease so you can turn. And that is a recipe for rear end collisions. At the very least, it is a recipe for inefficiency in moving, in driving, moving vehicles along the highway. And that's because the people who built Heroes Highway were not highway builders. It's obvious the people who built Heroes Highway knew nothing about building highways because you have to plan these things, and none of that planning is visible. So anyway, that is what's happening with my commentary on some of this stuff because it is not just I'm not just talking about stuff that is wrong or some stuff that is being done badly. It's that it has an impact on the safety and the quality of life of the rest of society. So you've given these contracts to your friends and your family to build roads that they are not qualified to build, and these people get rich. But the society is left with infrastructure that is dangerous, infrastructure that is inefficient, and with lots of accidents. People actually literally dying as a result of improper um, construction, improper planning. And then you got people in the comments arguing with me about what should be obvious, which is why I say this is a channel for intelligent people. I'm showing you stuff that should be obvious to intelligent people, and you're arguing with me in the comments about PVP this and PNC this, and you must be APNU, all this low, low class nonsense. When the fact is, you just don't understand the point that I'm making. Ask questions. If you don't understand the point I'm making, ask questions. Say, look, I don't understand what you're saying. Don't tell me nonsense about you must be APNU this or PPP this or PNC this and all this nonsense. It's ignorant, right? The only thing that I can do to people who respond like that is to block them because they don't add anything to the channel. They don't make the experience pleasant for other people, and it's kind of just annoying. They're just annoying. So yeah, my policy now is to just block people like that, particularly since most of these people are not really adding value to the channel. I don't get paid more money from viewers like this. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna have to close off this um, live because it's getting hot out here and I can't see the screen. What business plans do you have for agriculture, business in Quarantine Burbies? So I actually have plans um, for food. not necessarily agriculture, but food. So food and food processing and so on that will eventually draw on agriculture, on the agriculture industry. And so I have a group of, just like I explained, I have a group of companies that are doing in healthcare and medicine. I have a group of companies that are in the food sector and has to do with building franchises, right? Building businesses that will allow uh, allow for Guyanese restaurants to open, and these restaurants, of course, need uh, food supply. They need a supply of their ingredients, and that means that you're going to need the agriculture sector to contribute to step up. So basically, in my group of uh, food companies, what I'm building is something like Uber or Lyft or Grab for the food sector in Guyana. And the idea is that if you, for example, know how to make cook up or pepper pot or curry or whatever it is, you should be able to sell that from your home or from a ghost kitchen or from anywhere um, in the world based on what I'm building. So you could either upload the recipe of your favorite, let's say your family recipe for um, butter chicken or whatever it is, that your family is known for. You can upload that recipe to one of my sites. It becomes part of the menu for a restaurant that is, say, Guyanese um, themed restaurant. The people in Poland or Latvia or Germany want to um, license a Guyanese restaurant. In other words, take these recipes and make the food in Germany or Latvia or Poland. Then your recipes get incorporated into the menu and you get paid for your family recipe. Or you can simply um, make the food in your home and then have a delivery service, pick it up for you from your home and deliver it to customers through a website that simply says, I can make curry chicken, and there's a buyer in Berbice who wants curry chicken for, a party, a birthday party. And through the website, they can link you and the buyer and the delivery service and so on. So I have a group of companies. Like I said, it's an ecosystem. There are a number of individual companies that make this happen, and these companies will allow me to execute um, a an ecosystem that involves suppliers of um, produce, fresh produce that involves the agriculture sector, home cookers or restaurant cookers or chefs who prepare the meals, delivery people who deliver the foods, and a website that basically allows you to order the food from anywhere in the world, not just anywhere in Guyana, but anywhere in the world. Because if you have somebody in California who's using these recipes, to make this food, and you have people in California who want to eat this kind of food. Let's say you live somewhere in the Midwest, when you don't get Guyanese food very often, you can't travel to Brooklyn, to get food. Then you can either use the recipes, or you can get somebody in your neck of the woods to make it and get somebody else to deliver it to you. So you can get, you know, um, roti and curry in Kansas City from a Guyanese um, supplier. So that's what I'm working on as many one of the several groups of companies, about 5 groups of companies. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna have to call this quits because it's what, 49 minutes. We're almost 50 minutes into this um, live. gonna call it quits. I'm also going to start doing lives on TikTok and Facebook, Instagram, because I've always maintained accounts on all of the platforms. Well, except Twitter now. I'm off Twitter, but on LinkedIn and so on, and all these platforms are now introducing or emphasizing video. So I'm going to be going live on some of these other platforms. So if you want, you can follow me on those other platforms. You can also follow me on my business channel, because a lot of these businesses I don't talk about on this channel, but I intend to simply focus on talking about how I'm building these businesses on my business channel. Like I said, the companies that I'm building right now are worth about $100 million, but why and how I got there, the details of that I'm gonna have to explain, on a dedicated channel, because there are some details that people on this channel are really not interested, because it's a different demographic. So if you are interested in business and how I'm building businesses in Guyana, then follow me on my business channel. And then there are other channels. There's a food channel, there's a car channel. I haven't posted anything on that since I opened it, but we're gonna come. This is one of my interests and so on. So I actually have a car company or a suite of companies in that sector, a group of companies that I'm also working on. It's going to provide um, building an electric car, for example, building and shipping car parts and maintenance supplies and all that stuff. So that's another group of companies that I've been working on. So anyway, this is what's happening here on this Friday morning in Guyana. If you want to see more content like this, click like and subscribe. Share this video with friends and family around the world as usual, and remind people of why we're doing this. Right, we're doing it because we do want to provide up-to-date information to intelligent people about what's happening in Guyana, and to basically keep step with the world. We're not trying to catch up to the US, like I said in various videos in the past. We're trying to make Guyana as up to date as the other countries that are up to date, like China, like Singapore, like countries in Asia that are I have found to be way ahead of America, and that's literal. That is real. But that's what's happening. If you want to see more content like this, click like and subscribe. Share this video with friends and family around the world. Enjoy Emancipation Day if you're in Guyana, and enjoy your Friday if you're anywhere else in the world. Later. I'm going to talk about land and so on in future videos. I think I've been getting consistent requests for review for videos on housing developments and new housing developments and divisions in Guyana. And I'm going to talk about that in future. But that's what's happening, guys. We'll talk to you again next live. Let me show you. This is what is happening in this neck of the woods. Right, we're in the gardens. Just going to show you that before I close. And this is where I am. This is where I come after running in the morning. The reason why I'm able to do this live is because there is a camera and a Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi network out here. But that's it, guys. Talk to you later.